afternoon, everybody. It's Hog here. Welcome to another episode of Mumble. Episode whatever it is. It's another Sunday, and I'm just going out for a ride. I'll probably start off in Cambridgeshire, down into Essex, then across into Hertfordshire, or something or other. Come on, turn green. There we go. The one thing I dislike about Cambridge is the amount of traffic lights. Too many. Last week it was kind of stressful, and having to work with minions basically wasn't great. But never mind. Needs must, need to earn money. So yeah, I'm now on the bike. Finally, it's been 3 days since I was on the bike, and I need to just go out for a good ride, 100 miles or so. Now, I was meaning to get up early in the morning, but I didn't actually get up early enough. By that I mean I didn't get up until like 9, and then I kind of had a really lazy morning. I had a nice English fry-up breakfast. Yes, it was great. Made it myself. Rather than just the old bran flakes and piece of fruit, which I did have the piece of fruit as well, don't you worry, I had that as well. Now, whilst I'm making my way down to Saffron Walden so I can start riding around properly, I thought I'd talk about something which has come up recently, and which is a motorcycle security. Now, we're coming towards the end of summer, and of course, summer means lots of bikes, and it also means when we get towards the end of summer, the weather starts to cool down, we get the weather, clouds start to roll in, it's rainy, etc. It means more and more people are less likely to ride their bikes because, well, generally because of the weather, and of course you have people who have come to the end of their booked summer holidays and are back to work as well. Some people don't have the luxury of a garage, and therefore they have to leave their bike outside, either on the road or in a car park somewhere, exposed to the elements and also exposed to the thieves. Whoops, no, never mind. Which is not good. So this is just a heads up, guys. If you haven't got security on your bike, like apart from your what's it called, steering lock, that's what it's called. Come on, Huffle, you can think of it a bit quicker than that. Your steering lock, then I'd definitely recommend other forms of security as well. So I'm going to start off with number one, which is what I just mentioned, the steering lock. And I'm not going to go into too much detail because it's going to be bloody obvious. If you've got a steering lock, use it. And I know it sounds stupid, but lots of people just don't bother. And it doesn't make sense to me, because if you've got a car and you leave your car in the car park, what's the one thing you do? You lock your car. That's essentially the same practice to a bike. You're not quite immobilizing the bike, because you can still roll it back and forth by going around a corner, just like, the car will still move if you take off the brake, but you're actually stopping people from actually just getting in on the bike and hot wiring it and riding it or driving it away. So for God's sake, if you've got a steering lock, use it, and get into the habit of using it all the time, because it's just one extra thing that a thief has to deal with, and most bikes will come with it as standard, so why not use it? It's free. It's given to you for free. Well, not for free, you're paying for the bike anyway. It's part of the bike, use it. A second one which I'll probably mention is, and this is probably I'd say really high up in importance as well, I think this is the bike cover. We don't, and I'm not talking about these very premium covers which keep your bike nice and cozy and warm with soft underlay. No, it doesn't have to be a proper bike cover. If you can get one which fits snug and has a clip underneath, good, fine, but it doesn't have to be a proper one. You can just get some tarpaulin, get some rope, get some tarpaulin, and you cover that bike up. Purely because a thief, one, they want to know exactly what they're stealing. They want to know what they're up against. But if you take that away, they don't know whether they're stealing a shitty Yamaha 125. Sorry, a shitty one. They're not shit. But what I'm saying is they don't know what they're stealing. They don't know whether they're going to be stealing a CB1100 or a CB125. They don't know whether the bike that they're going to be stealing is actually even going to function properly. They don't even know if it's got a front wheel. Well, okay, well, I'm exaggerating here. Come on, put your foot on the gas, please. There we go. And also it means if you have your bike covered up, it means they've actually got to approach the bike and risk being seen approaching the bike and then lifting the cover up to seeing what's underneath it and then putting it back on. It takes time. They risk being seen carrying out suspicious activity. So there you go. So number one was not disc lock, steering lock. Use it. Tarpaulin or covers. They're inexpensive. If they get lost in the wind or they get damaged, you just get another one. I mean, even these branded ones from Halfords or other auto centres, you can get them relatively cheaply. And I think the whole term "out of sight, out of mind" plays a long way. The difference being that if a thief wanted to steal your bike, of course, the cover won't actually stop anything. They'll get your bike because all they have to do is just cut through your cover or just take the cover off. Not a problem. But 99% of thieves will not bother if they can't see what they're stealing. The third one, which I think is also important, is to have some kind of immobilization device. Now, not electronic immobilization or anything, but I'm talking about simple mechanical devices like a mini disc lock. You don't have to get the strongest lock out there. One, because what I would say is, if a thief wanted to get through your lock, they'll get through your lock. They'll get through your chains. So you just want something, again, to be that deterrent to the 99% of thieves. Most thieves are lazy, most thieves are opportunists. If you get, what I've got with me is a Oxford, and I know it's Oxford, it's not the best brand in terms of actual locks and security, but it acts as a really good deterrent. It's bright yellow, it's a mini 5.5mm pin, hardened steel pin, disc lock, and it's surrounded by a steel casing, and it basically just slips into your calipers. That's all it is. And it's probably the size of, you know, put your 3 middle fingers together. It's probably about that size. I'm not sure if you can see it. There you go. Get one of those, because you slip them on, you can carry them on in your bag, and you've only got a couple of keys for it. You don't have to worry. And all you do, put it on the front wheel. It's bloody obvious because it's bright yellow, and if thieves see that, they won't see it, because it's going to be an absolute pain in the arse. They won't be able to get it off without actually damaging that front disc. And if they do try to attempt it, they're risking the amount of time trying to cut it off in the first place. These things are incredibly cheap. I mean, the Oxford Mini T is about £20–25, and you can get two of them, one for your front, one for your back. And it's always good, and what my tips would be, when you're actually putting them on, have it, and if you've got two discs on the front, which most middleweight bikes do, lightweight bikes probably not, they only have the one, but always have the lock facing the inside of the bike, not the outside, because what it means is that they're not able to pick lock it properly. They cannot see what they're pick locking, which is a huge advantage, because it means they actually can't get any big equipment in, which is what you want. You want to deter them from actually committing these offences in the first place. They can't get a screwdriver in, they can't actually see what they're doing, and obviously they will not attempt it. Rule number one of a thief: be as lazy as possible. That's what you have to do. You just have to be incredibly lazy to be a thief, because most thieves are opportunists, and if they feel they can only get through one level of security, they'll go for it. But if there's more than one, they won't bother, because it means exposing themselves for more than a minute. And most people will not take the chance, because especially if you're in the neighbourhood and you're well known in the neighbourhood, they won't bother. Number 4, I think, or number 5. Number 4, I'm just going to go with number 4. Whatever. Chain and lock. So you can get a 10mm U-lock or D-lock or whatever they're called, plus a chain. Now, the D-lock itself can double up as a brake disc lock or wheel lock. And I'd highly recommend it, because usually the 10mm steel pin on the D-lock is often rubberized as well. Got a rubber coating, which means you can actually put it through parts of your disc and it won't scratch it. And it's fantastic, which I think will probably work better. But of course, you then have the loose sections where you can actually get a saw in, or there are exposed parts of the pin. Where's this car going? You don't indicate, you absolute cheesecake. And with a chain, it's a difficult one because, like I said, a thief will get through your chain if they're determined. So, if you try and chain it as tightly as possible, well, not tightly, your chain is only as effective as what it's anchored to. And there's no point trying to chain your bike to itself. Like, so you wrap the chain around the wheel a couple of times. It doesn't work because that's essentially what you're doing, is just having a really, really bulky, heavy and expensive wheel lock. It also means that when you have a chain on your back wheel, you give the thieves a chance to have a leverage point. So even if you leave the bike in first gear, for example, they can quite happily lift that back wheel with enough leverage. Two guys or a van or something, they can just lift that back wheel because you left that chain and allowed them to be able to lift that bike. You gave them an anchor point, basically. If you're actually going to chain it to something, then chain it to a tree, chain it to a lamppost, or an anchor if you've got one. And which I'm going to go on to 4.5 here, which you can actually go to get the chain anchors. Some chain anchors will have a single pin which you drill straight into the concrete. It's not about the length of the actual pin itself. If you only have one pin which is only 6 inches long, yet the thickness of the concrete is only 3 inches, then that pin is you've only got one point of contact with the concrete, which is got a surface area or volume of 3 inches. It doesn't matter how long the pin is. The fact that it's only connected to the concrete through 3 inches, it doesn't matter. So you can get these anchor points which have shorter pins, which are only 2 to 3 inches long. But there are 4 of them. So I mean, you have a combined strength. So you spread the strength over. It's like they not only have to get one through one pin, they have to get through 4 pins on the anchor. So it's 4 times the work. And of course, as a result, the anchor will be a lot stronger. Of course, these things do cost a lot of money, but if you have money and you have a garage, it's always good that in the event of them breaking into a garage, that they have to get through this anchor. And by that point, if they've broken through the garage, and hopefully you've got some kind of house alarm, or you would have heard it, or somebody would have heard it, and somebody would have called the police, and by that time they would have been alerted, like you would have been alerted to something. I think the best security that you have is if you have neighbours, get to know your neighbours. I know it's silly and it sounds daft, and in this day and age most people don't actually know their neighbours, but know 1 or 2. Just talk to them about anything, because it's always better to have a second pair of eyes, a third pair of eyes, third pair of ears than just you. Because even if they have no interest in bikes or cars or whatever, it doesn't really matter whether they're out of the house or not. If you have somebody who knows you and knows that you have a bike and knows the area, that's a second part. You're increasing the chances of something being spotted, or you're also increasing the chances of having a deterrent. They're always actively being a deterrent for your bike, your neighbours. Even though they're not necessarily at home 24/7, they only need to be there for an hour in their own home, and your bike's just got to be in plain view of their window. Sorry, if it's just outside their house, also, a couple of tens of meters or something, then that's the best thing, because all they can do is like glance out the window, oh, they see your bike, done. And if that bike gets stolen later in the day, for example, they can then confirm, oh, I was in the kitchen at 2 o'clock, your bike was still there. And what it does, it narrows down the time frame of trying to find that bike. And I think that's actually it's hugely beneficial knowing your neighbours. You don't have to like them. You can think of them as being incredibly annoying as much as you want. But being able to have them is fantastic. And you never know, you might end up being good friends with them. So it's a win-win, really. Know your neighbours. And if anything, if we're going to talk about cost effectiveness, out of all the suggestions that I've mentioned, that's probably number 1. Why? Because it's free. And that's probably the best thing. If you have no money to spend on any other security, that is the best thing you can do up until a point. Of course, get a cover, get basic locks and immobilizers, but it's well worth it. So it's amazing how the best things are free. So hopefully some of you might have taken these points on board, and if it's not, if it's all gone over your head, then fair enough. I just hope that I've helped somebody, because obviously somebody close to me had their bike stolen a few weeks back, and it's made me incredibly aware of how important it is, just by taking simple measures, spending a little bit of money just on a lock, and it'll deter the majority of thieves. But if you take small things which can take as little as 5 minutes, you know, get a lock, takes 15 seconds to put a lock on, like a disc lock. It takes 2 seconds just to turn your key from ignition on to off, to then put it onto a steering lock. It takes a minute just to put a cover on. It takes anywhere between a minute and several weeks just to know your neighbours. But you need to do it. It's worth it. So leave your comments in. Leave a comment. Don't forget to like and subscribe as well. I hope people have found this helpful, and I shall catch you next time.